Hey guys, welcome. This is I'm Thomas Fluharty, and this is my first little tutorial on how I draw and what I'm thinking about as I'm drawing. And there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, I think it's been said. And there's 1,000 ways to draw is really what that means. And nobody's exactly right, like that's the only way. So this way that I draw is, I think it could be helpful. It's sort of rooted in the idea of the blind contour. I call it the blind contour, not really. And so, really, if you're not familiar with blind contour, they teach you blind contour in art school, and I know it's in numerous books. And basically, all you're doing with a blind contour drawing is you're looking at the subject and you are sort of moving your eye and you are tracing the subject. As you move your eye, you move your pencil, and you trace the line of the subject, and you never look at your paper, and when you're all done, you look back at your paper and it looks like Picasso. It's just an eye over here and an eye up here, and the nose is sort of like tipped over here, and the eyebrows here, and then the other eyebrows there. You just have no way of knowing where you were, because your eye has just been following all over this subject, and it's called the blind contour. Honestly, it has a benefit, but it's just sort of like, so what? But I do believe the benefit of it is that you're training your eye to move and to see and to track and to move across the subject, and you're not looking at your paper. And it's sort of like you're dancing on a high wire, and it's nerve-wracking and whatever, right? But I do think that it can be extremely helpful, and here's what I have. I use blind contour every day. It's the only way I draw, and I'm not really sure how I came up with this, other than just it's like sort of like it's just the way that I draw. So anyways, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my eye, and I'm going to move my eye, and as I move my eye up these on the edges of whatever I'm drawing, as I move my eye, I move my pencil and I make a mark. Then I stop and see where I am, and I move my eye again, and I move my pencil or my brush or whatever. And I'm looking at my paper, but only to have it make coherent sense, so that it makes sense and I can see where I am. So it doesn't end up looking like a Picasso with an eye over here and over there. But it's accurately drawing what I saw, not what I thought I saw. Does that make sense? Sometimes people will take a look at the subject, make observations, move over to the paper, and then move their hands according to what they thought they saw. That's fine. But for me, I feel like my drawings are much more accurate when I draw when I draw what I know I saw. You know what I mean? Like, as I move my hand, I'm not drawing what I think I saw. I'm drawing what I saw, because I'm not looking at my paper, but only to sort of begin the next line. Does that make sense? If I were to break it down into a sort of a screen snap that you could have, this is what I would say. This is how I draw. The blind contour, not really. I call it the blind contour, not really. And so here's how it's laid out. With pencil on paper, move your eye on the subject and move your pencil. How? According to the angles defined by the 90 degree. You might say, what? Well, all I mean by that is I need some absolutes. So shoot a screen snap of this, and then I'll explain exactly what I'm talking about. So anyways, here's what I mean. As I draw George, I'm going to draw George here quickly. I'm only going to draw an eye, by the way. So as I draw George, there are angles going on in this face. And how do I know what the angle of that is? And the way that I know what that angle is because I'm going to use the edge of the paper or or the edge of Photoshop. A 90-degree angle is going to communicate to me the angle of this line. So this may be a 20% of a line, of an angle, right? The nose tips up this angle. What angle is that? Well, I know it's that angle because I know that's a 90. What is this angle? Well, I know what angle that is because here's another 90. I'm always looking at the edge of the paper, or I'll give myself a 90-degree angle. And so when I do these angles, what is that angle there? That's easy because this is my 90, right? So if something's just slightly off from horizontal, maybe it's a 10% of an angle. Let's see if I can find a 10% of an angle right there. You see that line? That's almost 20. But right here, this would be a line I would say, well, what angle is that? I know it's compared to the horizontal, it's a 10%. Does that make sense? So that's going to be extremely crucial with how I match the angles on the face I'm looking at. So anyways, I just want to draw this eye using the blind contour, and here's how I use it. So again, all of this is just looking at, I'm going to grab a chalk brush here, and I'm going to make my, I'm going to draw with like a reddish brown because it feels like it's a little pastel-y, a little earthy, and it's what I like to draw with. So I'm going to now move my eye. I'm going to start right here in the tear duct, right? I'm going to start right here in the tear duct. And I know already that this is a round ball. Really what this eye is, when I'm drawing the eye, you have to ask yourself, what am I drawing? You're drawing a wet golf ball wrapped in bacon. It's about skin, the thickness of bacon before you cook it. So know that this is a big round ball sitting in a rectangular hotel room or a rectangular cave, and this ball is sitting in there all wet, and it's wrapped in this flesh, okay? So I'm going to start right here at the tear duct. And I know how to draw the eye and draw the face as a whole, but I don't draw that way, but I do need to know that. So here, I'm just going to start. So I'm going to start at the tear duct, and I'm going to get in here, and I'm going to track right here. I'm going to draw the inside lid first, the inside thickness. It goes up like this at that angle. And I also know that it's a round ball, so it will be affected by the roundness. Then I have this angle going down here. And what is the angle of that? Well, look at your 90 degree and you can tell. So I'm going to start here. It goes over and does that. And then this comes down and wraps all the way down and does this. And sometimes I do a line twice. And as I do the line twice, it matches. And I'm like, that's super cool. I know I'm onto it. If my line tracks the same line, exactly the same, and I draw over top of the same line. Now this angle goes like this right here. It goes like this, goes at this angle and stops, and you have the lens happening, and then this goes and goes here, and it goes almost at an angle like right like this. And you can see this angle, like it goes this way, it's coming down at this 10% angle, and then it shoots up at maybe another 15% of an angle. Now this curve was broken up into a few lines. So it's interesting that sometimes curves are broken into lines and you can track them. So then this comes down the thickness of this, and then there's the thickness here doing this, wrapping around.
Every great artist begins with the fundamentals. In his course, Drawing Fundamentals with Thomas Flaherty, award-winning illustrator Thomas Flaherty will coach you through the foundational skills that he employs to draw. You'll learn how to see your subject, effectively use tones, perspective, and composition, and much more. So whether you're a young artist just beginning your artistic journey or an older artist who has never been formally trained in fundamentals, in sharing with you his vast knowledge, Thomas will help make drawings simple. Check out and bookmark his course on schoolism.com. Now, back to the video.
And basically, I've just drawn in this eye, and I'm going to now get back to the whole reality of it being round, and I can do that later. What you don't want to have on an eye is 90-degree angles or corners that look like that, because the round is really, the eye is really round. So you can round these out later, right? You can round these out later. But what you can do is start your lines and grab your angles first. So this comes up, I'm going to put this tone in here, and then this goes down and it does this, and it goes like this all the way over into this little area of sort of flesh, and this is all round here. This goes up. I'm going to draw a tone. So you can see I'm going to draw this tone here, and I'm going to move up. It's still doing these angles, right? And I know that like where to start this eyebrow is because I'm going to just darken this just a tad. I'm going to darken all of this. Right? Just darken this here because this gets round. The eye gets round over in this socket. Okay. So at this point, I'm just going to darken this mask a little bit more because it's going to be hair, his eyelash itself. Okay. So as this does this, this goes down. This is all sort of round here. It's all folding under. But I want to get up and draw this eyebrow right here. So I'm going to look and I'm going to track some of this tone up here that does this. So I'm going to see that, and that starts about right here. Okay? So it goes like this. It goes up and does this, does this, does this. And all of that tone right there just helped me, right? I'm going to just sort of chart that out with a little bit of value, put that value in, and now I know where to start this eyebrow. And that eyebrow is really it is a big it's really, an eyebrow is more about value than it is about cut out eyebrows, right? And then so I'm just going to draw this mask right here too. So I'm going to come up here and break this into a mask. Goes like this and like this. And right now I just tracked those angles and I drew the second part of the eyebrow in tone right there. And then I'm going to track this over here. Well, first of all, I want to put in this lens a little bit. So it goes up and moves this way. And I'm going to just track this with my eye. It does that. I'm not looking at my paper. I want to move a little bit down here and put in this round, this bag underneath, sort of shaping around the eye itself. But you get the idea that all of this, and then let me move this over just a tad. We can see where this eyebrow is a bunch of hair, but it still does track down. It still tracks down right here, and it goes down, and then there's this fold of skin here, right? And then all of this sort of sits right here, and you can play this out and blow up this hair with caricature and really make this big. But this eye is all shaped out now, and I'm gonna get in here now and remember that this is a big round ball, and it's all dark in this mask, right? Even over here. But if I were to continue and do this whole drawing, I already think it looks like them. I already think it looks like them. But again, I'm drawing tone and I'm drawing angles, and I'm doing blind contour, not really. And so let's just, I'll show you this real quick. When I draw this nostril in here, I mean this nostril, not the nostril, but the bridge of the nose, I need to figure out, well, how far is that? So from the eye, from the socket, the tear, I track myself, I track over with tone. So I say from here, I'll do it over here, from this goes and does this, and then you have this tone track in here. It goes like this, and it goes and does this, and then it's sort of, there's these shapes, like this shape is about that. This shape from here to here does this, and I can exaggerate it, but I'm looking at these shapes right here. I'm looking at these lines, and I'm tracking myself over to the bridge of that nose with tone. Does that make sense? So I wouldn't just arbitrarily draw this. I would say, okay, as I move myself down the eye, this shape here is about that thickness, and then it comes in and does this at the angles which we've already talked about, you know, that 45 degree or 50 or 60 degree angle, whatever that is. But I'm tracking tone, and I'm drawing like I'm looking at like from here to here. And so I'm gathering this information as I do it. Now, real quick, what I want to do right now is I just want to draw this pupil in, this iris in here. And I know, and it's the same thing. I'm going to track this up with my eye, not just assuming a circle, but I just tracked that with my eye, and then I'm going to color that in, and I'm also going to understand that this is the other part of it that comes into play. You have to know knowledge. You have to know knowledge. That doesn't make sense. You have to have some knowledge here that this is an ellipse. This is an ellipse. This is sitting on that ball, and so it continues beyond the lid that glides over this ball. Does that make sense? Make sense? So anyways, those are the things. As I draw this, I'm not just drawing just blindly. I'm understanding that it does continue on. And then I might get in there and draw this. I might switch my brushes, but I'm not going to do it right now. But basically, it's a round shutter in there. And I'm going to make all that dark up in there. But I think that really looks like them. I think I've got it. I think I nailed it. But again, it's all just a matter of this as a quick review. It's a blind contour. As I move my eye, I move my pencil or my pen or whatever, and I move it according to in comparison to the 90-degree angles, right? And I'm also tracking tone. I'm looking from this eyelid down to this where this tone stops, and then I'm tracking from that edge of that to the crease here. So those are the ways that I get my angles and I draw and I get my accuracy. All right, I hope it makes sense. If not, you can shoot us a quick question or ask any questions you can at Schoolism. I teach at Schoolism. So anyways, I hope you get it. Keep studying. It's awesome. All the best, man. Later.
Alright everyone, so if you like the video, you want to learn more, you want to improve as an artist, highly recommend clicking over to Schoolism, signing up for the newsletter, because in this newsletter, you will always get free videos and tutorials and news about Schoolism so you can keep up to date with what's going on in the world. Click over now, and I'll see you guys next time.